would start and stop, start and stop. The book has been in my head really for the last, oh my goodness, ever since I was appointed the first black to chair a standing committee in the history of the Maryland General Assembly. The book, I can assure you, will be hot. H-O-T. It's going to have a lot in it. And some folks will not be happy with me. And there'll be some folks who will have what they want to say and they can say it. They can write their book. Mine will be written. It will be a book about my life. Right now, the topic, or the title, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. This is probably going to be the title of the book. I'm going to share about my youth in Harlem Park, and Harlem Park community in Baltimore, the first urban renewal area in the nation. Harlem Park, 32 blocks, and I had the opportunity to be a youth leader. And when you go down to Harlem and Calhoun and you see Harlem Park Middle School, Harlem Park Elementary School, Harlem Park Open Space, they came about because of the Harlem Park Youth Advisory Council, for which I served and was a spokesperson for. Then when I think about youth activities, I was the first young man to be appointed chairman of the Mayor's Youth Advisory Council. I was also the first chairman under D'Alessandro, the mayor. Under the governor, I was the chairman of the Governor's Youth Commission. And as a result of that, I was able to get the governor, Mandel, to sign the right for 18-year-olds to have the right to vote. 18 years old. We came up with that, and that was signed in 1972. That's one of many things. I had the youth organized, united to be heard. We went and put a demonstration at City Hall, that packed City Hall, when they were trying to put a curfew on young folks, saying that we had to be in the house by 6 o'clock, which I thought was ridiculous. We went down there with Maurice Hubert Hot Rod, Miss Kitty Brody, WWIN, and 1,000+ young folks to that public hearing. Thank goodness the bill didn't pass. I remember leading a demonstration at Emerson High School to have them put back in place Miss Johns, who was a supporter of the student government and felt we were not being listened to, and she spoke out. And Mr. Rankin didn't like that, and that was the principal at the time. They put her on dismissal, and I said to the young folks, we can't let that happen. And so we put on a demonstration at Emerson High School that got her job back for her. School days. Also, I'm a proud member, and been so since 1972, of the New Shiloh Baptist Church. I call it America's #1 church. Reverend Hurley Carter Sr., Reverend Hurley Carter Jr., and 4,000 to 5,000 strong members. We were a church determined to live with Christ. We didn't move out of Baltimore. We stayed in Baltimore. We're rooted in Baltimore, right there at 2100 Monroe Street. And not only just a church, a fine facility, but we've done the New Shiloh Village. We are part of the community, and we are going to continue to be a part of the community, even more so in the years to come. I served in the Maryland General Assembly for 23 years, in the House of Delegates for 13, and the State Senate for 10. Became the first African American to chair a standing committee in the history of the Maryland General Assembly. Speaker Ben Cardin appointed me. He's now a United States Senator. During the time in the Maryland Senate, I was responsible for domestic workers being given workers' compensation. I was responsible for the fact that students who ride the buses to school didn't have to pay the full fare. I worked it out so they would have the student fare on buses. That's still in place today. I probably passed over 150 major bills during the time I served in those 23 years. Quite frankly, if it wasn't because of the fact that I'm undergoing some health challenges, I would probably run again. but those days are past. 23 years of public service. Of course, I did say that I was a public servant and not a perfect servant. A public servant, but not a perfect servant. There was the expulsion situation in the General Assembly. And one of the reasons that one of the white senators said that I had to go, of course, quote unquote, I was too black. I always wanted to have black appointed to boards and commissions. I always wanted to make sure if you had a program, what was in it for our community. You wanted my vote? Show me what you went to do with my vote and how you were going to thank the community that sent me here to vote for the best interest of my people, my community. And so I have no problem with that title, Too Black. I went to Radio 1 after 23 years in the legislature, and I met Dr. Kathy Hughes, Radio 1's founder and chairman of the board. 25 years. Yes, I enjoyed my tenure at WOLB 1010 AM. For sure, for sure. We did some marvelous, marvelous things. One of the proud moments also I wanted to bring to you is the fact that I was part of the revival crusade at Oriole Park. I went there as a guest when the Orioles first opened up Oriole Park, Camden Yards, with Mayor Kurt Smoke. 45,000 plus was there. And I was sitting there looking, and I said to myself, we could have a revival crusade here. Took the idea to Reverend Harold Carter, Sr., and then we later brought in Frank Madison Reed of Bethel Church, and we did do the revival crusade. We did one, and then 5 years later, we did a two. And the first one, it was 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and a Sunday. During that entire weekend, not one homicide. And that was major. That was the talk of the city. Not one problem. And we had over 125,000 folks who came. 5 years later, we did another revival crusade. This one had Jamal Bryant, Harold Carter Jr., Vashti McKenzie, Anthony Muse. And of course, both times we were able to, and we were blessed to have the Morgan State University choir. And then other churches also sent their choirs. So at one point in the stadium was 1,000 voices, a combination of folk who wanted to be a part of the Revival Crusade choir. It was major. So I'm committed now to set up a podcast network. And I want to thank Sister Kimball. I want to thank Lou and Garrett. I want to thank Brian James Alexander and Vern Streeter. And we're going to put this together. And in the coming weeks and months, it's going to grow and grow strong. But I'm not going to put aside some commitments I have to the community. One of them is the NAN organization, the National Action Network under the Reverend Al Sharpton and the Greater Baltimore chapter. Also, the Drew Hill Heights Community Development Corporation, Jackie Cornish, Mr. Warren, strong board, strong staff, and a community that wants to better itself. Also, let me thank the Mitchell family. If it was not for Perrin Mitchell and Clarence Mitchell III, my political career would have never got started. I won my first election in 1974 by only 56 votes. 56 votes. But I won. And then I ran 11 times after that, 5 times unopposed. And when we were opposed, we did pretty good. Beat every time. So I certainly want to thank the Mitchell family, particularly Perrin Mitchell, the congressman, and Clarence Mitchell III, the state senator. I'm also going to talk about in the book 5 major do's and don'ts. I'm also going to talk about and will share lessons about friendship, friendship. Wow. Also, I'm going to talk about amnesia. How is it that folks will get amnesia and why? I'm going to talk about folks with disabilities. Ever since I've had my amputation, I do know what it means to be disabled and the advantages and disadvantages. There are no advantages, but there's a lot of disadvantages. But you can take the opportunity to do better for yourself. I remember being told I would never walk. I went from never walking to a wheelchair, from a wheelchair to a walker to a cane. And God willing, I should be able to drive again in the next 6 months. So I will share lessons about friendship and amnesia and disabilities and myths. But finally, the great part of the book is going to be about my mama, for sure. That part of the book, well, it's going to be all right. I feel to be sure to be critical about myself. As I stated, I was a very good public servant. I didn't say I was a perfect servant, but a very good public servant. And I'll be sure to be critical about myself, because I certainly intend to be critical about some of the people I served with and some of the people I served in the community with. So give me a little bit more time, and I'll be ready for this book that's going to be called The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And it's going to be hot. What I would like to do with the show is to make sure that those individuals who I've had the opportunity to serve with, and then those I have not served with but are now in position to be of service to our community, we're going to give them the opportunity to come on the Larry Young Show, the podcast, and talk directly to you, you being the public. Let you ask questions, and we will ask questions and have discussions, because I do believe that after the election, it's the representation that counts. Yeah, you go through the election process, that's fine. But once you get elected, what do? Who's holding you accountable? Just who's going to be responsible for making sure that you are doing your job? That election comes up every 4 years. And coming up, and sometimes I ask myself, particularly now that I've been out of office for almost 25 years, I look around the community and I wonder sometimes, where are the public officials? Don't they go to the same food markets? Do they go to the same movies? Do they go to the same activities other than maybe some major function at one of the hotels or down at the civic arena? What about in the community, showing up other than election time or just around about just Sundays? So anyway, we're going to open up and have a discussion with those elected officials who care and want to share what they're doing to make good government work. Of course, we're going to do what we can to encourage people to get out and vote. I was disappointed with the election results here in our city. Less than 40% of the community voted. That meant that 60% of the people who could have voted did not. That's an insult, particularly those who died, gave up their lives, served, and were beaten, robbed, hung to give us as a people the right to vote. And you still have people, and here it is in 2024, who will not even go to the polls to vote. But they'll be the first to criticize. The first to criticize. And I used to tell, when I ran for office, you can come to me and I'll help you. But it just makes me smile when you bring out that voter's card, because that lets me know that you are investing in the community. And I moved a little faster when I saw that voter's card. And you have communities where people want you to do, but they won't even take the time. Don't let it rain. And goodness knows don't let it be bad weather, because that'll be given as an excuse, which is in itself a shameful situation. Of course, we're going to be covering what's going on with the Trump administration. And I have my opinions to share with you. And I'll certainly expect you to share yours with me. So we should have a lot of time to discuss what Trump and the mega make America great again. Well, okay. We'll see what that means when taxes start going up. All the predictions of what they were going to do for this here country do not get accomplished. And the good thing about that is the House of Representatives comes up every 2 years. So I predict by the time we get to the second year of his 2 years, the public will say, enough already. It's not going to take 2 years to say that. Within the first 6 months, the majority, I'm predicting it, I'll make a prediction, the majority of the country will say, we made the wrong selection. Now, come back at 6 months and see if I'm right.
Okay. Testing 1, 2. Do you think Baltimore did a good job? I gotta get off these headphones. Do you think Baltimore did a good job? I mean, I think we did a good job as far as voting for who we want. Because we ended up blue.
True, but again, if you have 100 people and only 40, you have 10 people, but only 4 voted. Why did the other 6 stay on their rusty dusties? Why did the other 6 stay on their rusty dusties?
True. You can look straight.
Okay. Yeah. Why? I mean, that's. I just don't understand that. I mean, this. When I think
we didn't end up being red. So
well, that's fine. And that's good. We did. We're a blue state. I mean, come on. When you think about it, Maryland's fortunate. Maryland's one of the few states that has a black governor. Now we have a black United States senator. We have a black attorney general, and we have a black treasurer. So our community is really represented well. In fact, there's no other state that can look and say all of the statewide officials where an African American is at the helm, head of it. So to that extent, we can be complimentary. But it still doesn't explain why 60% of Baltimoreans in Baltimore City could not vote. There were more people who went to a ball game to see the Orioles play baseball than voted for mayor.
That's true.
Now that to me is a shame.
Yeah, that's true.
That to me is a shame. So.
Okay, we're gonna have something like this, and we're gonna have the people on Facebook call in, or people call in and give their opinions.
Okay, when we're ready, I'll line up about 10 people that I know.
Okay.
Who are good callers with good statements.
Right.
They won't do a lot of filibuster stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
It'd be
And that's just to get it. We'll do that for maybe 2 or 3 shows, and then after that, people say, "Oh my goodness, they got a little thing going." So we'll work it out.
All right. Good to have you.
So when will I be able to see all this good stuff?
It's being recorded now.
Okay.